We are going to be talking about the heat wave, the possible heat wave. Is there a heat wave? That's what we're mostly going to be focusing on, but we're also going to be talking about some pretty heavy rain coming in through the course of the rest of this week. There is a Met Office yellow warning in place for thunderstorms on Friday. But there's been a lot of chat about heat waves, so we're talking about that. I want your questions. I want your feedback. I want to know if you've heard that there's a heat wave on the way. If so, where did you hear it? Let me know. There's been a lot of talk, particularly in the press, but also perhaps on social media. So if you've heard that, maybe from Big Dave down the pub or your auntie's special friend or anyone like that, let me know where you heard it from. And we'll be talking about whether there is or is not a heat wave on the way in the next few minutes. But if you've got any questions really about weather, or about climate, or about the Met Office, again, just let me know. Ping it in the comments and we'll have some time to answer questions at the end. I should hopefully be able to, I should be able to check these questions on my laptop here. So if I'm just dipping down there for a second, hopefully I'll be able to get some questions up on there if you ping them into the comments, which would be good. So yes, let me know where you're watching as well. Let me know if you're enjoying this Facebook Live. Let me know what you want to know about. But we're going to be mostly talking about this. There's been a lot of chat recently about heat waves, so particularly in the press. We've noticed that particularly through the course of the weekend, early part of the week, 35-degree African plumes heading our way. So is there any truth in all of this? Well, there's a lot of people on holiday at the moment in the UK for obvious reasons. We've had a heat wave already back in July, but since the kids broke up, certainly in England when the kids broke up end of July, the weather's turned a little bit iffy. So there's a lot of people, I know not everyone loves sunny skies, but a lot of people do. There's a lot of people who would like some truth in these stories about heat wave on the way. The main truth for the rest of this week is, well, there's no sign of a heat wave coming this week. Certainly, it's more about heavy rain coming through the rest of this week. There's some fine weather to be had today and probably tomorrow as well. Large parts of the UK will have some sunshine. But heat wave this week, no, not happening this week. Next week, I'll have more on that in just a moment. Hopefully the weather will settle down a bit next week. But let's deal with what's going on at the moment. What's going on outside right now, because we've seen some pretty heavy downpours. We've seen some very intense rain over the past couple of days, particularly the Isle of Wight yesterday morning, and especially this morning across parts of Kent and Sussex. So this is the last 24 hours radar satellite imagery. A little weather front just drifting to the south, bringing some pretty wet conditions over parts of France and a bit of showery rain across the Channel Isles as well. But first thing yesterday, some big thunderstorms over the Isle of Wight. And then this morning, Tuesday morning, had some very heavy showers across Sussex and Kent, just there. You see that little cell there, actually, that dropped 30 millimetres of rain in half an hour. That's pretty unusual, pretty intense rainfall for this part of the world. That's since cleared away, thankfully, but if we zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture through this afternoon, then we can see that actually there are still quite a few showers dotted around across parts of eastern England. Sorry, I'm a bit out of touch with the touchscreen. Haven't used it for a while, so bear with. But yeah, scattering of thunderstorms brewing up, a few heavy showers earlier across East Anglia and eastern England. But actually, large parts of the UK having a dry day today and a bright day with some sunshine. There are quite a few showers across Scotland, and there's a weather front coming in here. As for the bigger picture and the outlook for the rest of this week, well, we are going to see a more dramatic change. This area of low pressure, which is currently brewing just off the eastern side of Canada, that is heading our way. Let's run through the sequence over the next couple of days and just watch as that low drifts its way straight towards the UK. So there it is, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and instead of moving on and clearing away, it just sticks around. Friday, Saturday, it's still there. So we're going to have quite a few days under this influence of low pressure sitting over us, and that's going to bring wet weather. It's travelled all the way across the Atlantic. It's picked up a lot of moisture from the seas. So it's picked up a lot of heavy rain, and it's going to drop it across the UK as it kind of sits around for a few days. Let's zoom in a little bit more and focus in on that low pressure. If we just track back a little bit, come back to tomorrow, And actually, although there'll be a few showers, many places will be dry tomorrow. It's really through Wednesday night into Thursday that this low starts to come in. And notice the isobars are squeezing together as well. So if you just play it through there, as we go through Thursday, Friday, the low kind of grinds to a halt. It'll bring a lot of showers, and that's why we have this in place. In this zone here in particular, closest to the low, that's where the air is all rushing up. So that zone there is the area most susceptible to prolonged, heavy, potentially thundery downpours. So we have a Met Office yellow warning in place. That covers southern Scotland there, northern England, North Wales, down into the Midlands and across to Northern Ireland. Now, not everywhere in that zone is going to see flooding and torrential downpours. They will be kind of in bands, but they'll be quite slow moving. So some places could see a lot of heavy rain. And of course, it's been quite wet of late, so that adds to the potential for disruption. As I said earlier, a lot of people are on holiday as well, a lot of people travelling around. This is Friday, when a lot of people do move on to holidays. Holiday lets Friday into Friday, Saturday to Saturday. So a lot of people moving around. Bear this in mind if you're travelling through this zone. The area may get refined. It's 3 days away, so the area may get refined and honed down. But in this zone, the potential at the moment on Friday for slow-moving, heavy, thundery downpours that could bring some localised flooding. So just bear that in mind if you're travelling on Friday. Maybe add a little bit of extra time to your journey. I'm finally seeing some comments coming up, which is good, which means people are watching. So that's good. Can see and hear you, no problem. Thank you very much for that. Nigel, keep your comments coming in. Is there a heat wave, Karen Lord? Well, I've already said not this week. This week, low pressure, heavy showers coming, particularly Friday and probably lasting into Saturday as well. So no heat wave coming, Karen. But yeah, keep your comments coming in. Keep your comments coming in. Keep letting me know if you're watching. Good afternoon. Hello, Gemma Price. Thanks for watching. Luke Stacey. No heat wave coming in. Well, yeah, you're not wrong, Luke, but the newspapers are talking about it. So yes, keep your comments coming in, keep your questions coming in about the weather, about climate, about the Met Office, about whatever. But yeah, no sign of a heat wave this week. Low pressure dominating, heavy rain around for large parts of the UK. Bear that in mind for Friday. As I said, that warning may get refined over the next couple of days. Not everywhere in that zone will see the thunderstorms, but where they do occur, the potential for further flooding. What happens beyond that? Well, let's just run through, zoom out a little bit. Low pressure sits around Friday. Does it move on Saturday? No, it's still there. It's still chugging away. Notice the isobars quite close across the south. There will be showers across the south because the isobars are moving through. Can I put the winds on? Oh, I can put the winds on. Quite strong winds around here, so it does mean the showers will tend to zip through reasonably. But with that low sitting again across parts of northern Britain, again, the potential for slow-moving thundery showers on Saturday continues. So although the warning's only out for Friday at this stage, there is a continued risk into Saturday of further thunderstorms. Why is the low pressure sitting around? I hear you ask. Yeah, you did. Well, let's take a look at the jet stream. Yeah, for the jet stream. Let's zoom out and you can see the jet stream. Just that little kink there. It's a little trough, and it's that which is allowing the low pressure just to sit around. If we rewind the clock, you can see how that low pressure is developed. This is Wednesday, so actually in the next 12 hours, that's when the low really develops because the jet is very active and very close to it. But they kind of become separated, and there's not a lot of forcing, so that low stays kind of in the same trajectory. And then because the jet stream gets this little ripple in its trough, the low can't move this way. It kind of just sits around in this position, which is why it's sticking around for the weekend. Although, as we go into Sunday, that low pressure will finally fill a little and disappear. And so Sunday, we're starting to look a little bit drier. So, the short answer to the question at the start, is there a heat wave this week? No, absolutely not. Temperatures are going to be around or below average for this week, with heavy showers, especially Thursday night, and particularly Friday and Saturday. But there are signs that that low is moving away. Look, there's a big high. It's a long way away from us, but there are suggestions that it could just be starting to move in as we go into next week. During Sunday, still weather fronts nearby, Still low pressure close by, so there'll still be some showers, but they'll be losing their intensity. It won't be as powerful. Let's just take some questions now. Joanne Sentence, come on, is there a heat wave coming anytime in August? I know a lot of people are desperate for a heat wave, but we'll get on to the week after in just a moment. I better take your gazebo down. Yes, Chris York, you better take your gazebo down. Will the first test match between England and India be badly affected by the rain? Remind me where that is, Rajendra. I don't know where that is. The first test, is it at Lord's or is it further north? Remind me where the first test is. I should know. I'm ashamed that I don't know that. But remind me where it is. But yeah, wherever it is, actually, thinking about the 4th, it's starting tomorrow, then yes, there will be heavy showers at the test match. Probably not tomorrow, but Thursday, probably, definitely Friday, Saturday, there'll be interruptions to play. Let's hope it's a short test with an England win, of course. Chances of an Indian summer. Oh, Mark Rees, you get the gold star question. The first time this year. I don't think I've been asked that question in July before. Oh, it's August, so we're not quite there. But that is an early shout for an Indian summer. Way too early to say and define an Indian summer. Let's not go there. We haven't got the time. But keep your questions coming in. Looks like the garden furniture needs covering. Simon Mahus, you're quite right. Realistically, is my birthday garden party next week, 14th of August, likely to be a washout? Vicky Hewlett. Happy birthday, first of all, Vicky. Well, let's take a look at what happens after this weekend, shall we? Now, we've shown the pressure charts, we've shown the rainfall, we've shown the cloud. Things are getting a little bit more technical now. As we go into the longer range or medium to longer range forecasts, we tend to just get more complicated charts. If you follow the 10-day trend, of course you follow the 10-day trend. That's our broadcast that we do every Wednesday. We put it on Facebook, we put it on YouTube. Aidan and I alternate, and we look at the weather trends for the following week, for the following sort of 7 to 10 days. We have more detail for the next 5 days. That's when you can really accurately predict the weather. But beyond that, it becomes more of a trend forecast. And this is a classic chart that we tend to show during the 10-day trend. And if you're after drier weather, well, this is good news. Let me explain. This is the probabilistic pressure trend. Low pressure across the UK brings rain usually, and often windy and cool weather. High pressure will usually, certainly in summer, bring sunny and warm weather. On this chart, red is high pressure, blue is low pressure. The dates going forward are along the top here. So we are here, Tuesday the 3rd of August. Going down here are the previous computer model projections. This is from the European model, the ECMWF model, and we use this, as I say, quite a lot on the 10-day trend. Blue is low pressure, which is dominating for the next several days, and in all the previous computer model runs has been as well. But look at this. There are signs of a little pinky red just turning up, suggesting that pressure may start to rise as we go into next week. It's not rock solid, not bright red, and it's not completely clear when that transition will be, but there are signs that high pressure will be moving in, certainly for the early part of next week. So that means the weather should start to settle down. So after some heavy rain later this week, it does look drier, probably sunnier, and as a result warmer as we go into the early part of next week. Beyond that, and for your birthday, the 14th of August, well, it does look a little bit less straightforward. It's too early to tell. But there are some signs there of drier weather coming as we go into next week. Does that mean a heat wave? Well, this next chart would suggest not. Now, this is a similar chart, but instead of looking at whether it's high or low pressure dominating the UK, this is whether it's more likely that you're going to have easterly or westerly winds coming in. Westerly winds are blue, easterly winds are red. Not a lot of red on that chart. Now, in winter, easterly, red on this chart would mean cold conditions coming in from Siberia. But for summer heat, actually you need the winds really to be coming from the south or the southeast. This blue is telling us that there's a lot of Atlantic influence. The weather's mostly going to be coming in from the Atlantic. Westerly winds, and the Atlantic is not particularly warm. So with this chart suggesting Atlantic winds are most likely to dominate through next week, although it is likely to calm down the weather with sunnier conditions and as a result it will feel warmer, and it will be a bit warmer as well, with temperatures more likely to be in the low 20s. This would indicate that we're not expecting a heat wave anytime in the next week and a half. Very unlikely to be getting a heat wave, and certainly the temperatures that the newspapers were talking about, 35 degrees, no sign of that at this stage. It's not locked in, of course. These are projections for a long way ahead, or anything beyond 5 or 6 days is a long way in weather forecasting. So it's not completely locked in, but strong signal there from those two things that we're looking at, probabilities that high pressure may well come closer to the UK, but it will be more of a westerly flow that we see, so temperatures are not going to be anything spectacular, but it will still feel pretty warm and be quite warm. If you're on holiday in the UK next week and you're after some pleasant sunny skies, then it's pretty good news, certainly for the early part of next week. Keep your questions coming in. I'll just check a few more. Kathy Pearson, I love it now the climate has cooled down. Quite that simple, Kathy. We're talking weather here, we're not talking about climate. The climate is still warming. Trust me on that one. Look at the difference between weather and climate. We're talking weather here, not climate, okay? We get a lot of comments like that on Facebook. Oh, I noticed that climate change is off. It doesn't work like that. One cold day doesn't mean that it's not happening, okay? There's a difference between weather and climate. Look it up. Is it too soon to call a white Christmas, Mike Aspin? You are, well, you're just winding me up now. We had the first Indian summer, now we've got the first white Christmas reference. You win that one, Mike. Very good. Hello, Chrissy Harding. Seacation next week on a ship, Natasha Thomas. Wow, I need to know where that is, Natasha. Is it somewhere exotic? The Caribbean, I hope. That would be lovely. Around the UK, well, the winds will be light, so that would be nice. When is the first snowfall? Niall. What's a great surname? Colquhoun. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Great surname, Niall. Too early to say. Any summer left? Well, yes, next week. Doesn't look too bad at all. Trent Bridge, the test match. Thank you, Andy Eastham. Test match at Trent Bridge. Starting tomorrow. Might be a shower tomorrow, actually, in the Trent Bridge area. Small chance, bigger chance of interruptions. Friday, Saturday, might not be much play at all. Heavy downpours, and Trent Bridge probably in that warning zone as well. So yeah, I don't know what the drainage is like at Trent Bridge, but I hope it's good. Heavy snow this year, Danny Plummer. Everyone loves a good snowfall, don't they? Too early to say. Any idea for the end of August? Autumn here now. Well, it does feel a little chilly, doesn't it? But yeah, next week, summer is back, at least for a little bit. May not last all that long, but summer is coming back. Okay. Keep your questions coming. Any questions about weather, anything like that. But I guess one question, where do all those heatwave stories come from? That is a question that often gets asked. Sorry, just staying hydrated. And, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to speculate about why newspapers publish big stories about heatwaves that may, or probably aren't going to be true. But there are reasons why stories about temperature and things do start to circulate. And one reason is because computer model forecast data is widely available on the internet, and you can get pretty much access to anything nowadays. Now there are a small number, a handful of very powerful supercomputers that make weather projections. They cost a lot of money, so there's not many of them on the planet, but they're incredibly useful. We have one here at the Met Office. There's another one called the European model, ECMWF, and there's another really big one in Germany and France, and another very popular one in America, and that computer model is called GFS. And all their data pretty much all their data goes out on the internet for free, so people can access it and look at it, which is fantastic that all that data is available for meteorologists, amateur and professional, to look at and use in various different ways. So that is fantastic, but it does mean that there's a lot of information out there that can be used or can be interpreted in different ways. Here's an example. This was taken off social media, and this chart, if this was true, then you probably can't see the details too much, but this is a projected temperature chart for next Saturday, and the numbers in here give a maximum temperature, and there's a lot of 31s, 32s, East Anglia, the southeast, 34s on that chart. This is for next Saturday, but crucially, the forecast was generated last Friday. So it's looking more than 2 weeks ahead. But this data is widely available on the internet, free of charge. So people can look at this and think, oh my word, next Saturday it's going to be hot. People should know about this. Let me tell the world, because it's going to be hot. But this is just one computer run. And this was from last Friday, looking 2 weeks ahead. Very, very unreliable to look at individual forecasts for that far ahead. Why so? Well, let's just fast forward to today. This is today, same computer model, the same GFS computer model, but the same forecast for Saturday. So instead of being the run from last Friday, this is now the run from today, this morning, 6 o'clock. And the temperatures, the forecast temperatures for this Saturday are about 10 degrees cooler. You've got 22s, 23s, much more realistic. But of course, that computer model run that ran last Friday, people pick up on that over the weekend, see it and make up stories or create stories around that kind of thing. Another example now, this is again the GFS computer model. This is from today, and this is the forecast high for Friday. This is the 6 o'clock run for Friday, and it's got 22, 23, 24, 25, so round about average across the southeast. But the previous model run from just 6 hours earlier had a much higher, much hotter day across parts of the south, 26, 27, 28 degrees. And this is only a forecast for 3 or 4 days ahead. So, just giving you some examples there of why looking at one computer model run is just a bit silly, really. It's not a very good way of making a useful weather prediction, because when the next computer model run comes in, 6 hours later, it can be completely different. And that is one of the reasons, one of the problems with weather apps as well, because a lot of weather apps are just generated by these computer models that just run once and give you, spew out information, tell you it's going to be hot and sunny next week, and then in 6 hours later tell you there's going to be a thunderstorm and it's going to be 10 degrees colder. So that is why looking beyond 3, 4 to 5 days, it's not very useful to look at just one computer model. It's much more useful to look at a number of computer models. And not just different computer models, but you can run those computer models lots and lots of times at the same time, just with slightly different starting conditions, and that generates lots of different solutions. And then, when you do that, you can have a more probabilistic forecast. So you can look more at what is most likely to happen. You can put kind of percentages on things that are more likely to happen. And that is way more useful than just saying, oh, next Saturday it's going to be 34 degrees, and then 6 hours later saying, actually next Saturday is going to be 23 degrees. You can put probabilities on them, and that is a much more useful way of doing it. And it doesn't look much more useful when I show you this chart, because this is again the European model run. We run it lots of times. It's called an ensemble forecast, and it creates something called postage stamps, which you can see why they're called postage stamps. Each individual computer model run, there's 50 of them here, generated for a certain time frame ahead, and each one's slightly different. Quite hard to read, like postage stamps. So on the face of it, you see 50 different computer models. That's a lot of data. That's a lot of stuff going on. So what you can then do is kind of narrow it down and put it into different flavors of weather, if you like, different types of flavor of weather. And then you can start to plot them a little bit more accurately. And this chart, again, a lot of information on here, but we're kind of narrowing things down. So we're going along the data on the top here. And we've got, it's called regimes down the y-axis there. They're the different flavors, the different types of weather. So you can kind of narrow it down a little bit. There's actually 30, I couldn't fit them all on the chart. And then going forward in time, you can see there's numbers in here, which are the percentages how likely that regime is. Now you can see by the time we get to the middle of August, it's just a bit of a mess. But earlier on, you can see there's 50s, 88% next Sunday that regime 2 will be in control. So then it's becoming more useful. You can say, well, there's a high chance that that type of weather is the most dominant across the UK. You can't put specific cities in and say, all right, there's definitely going to be a thunderstorm at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you can get a flavour of what the weather's going to be. Not always useful for people planning parties, I admit, but it can be very useful for organisations, administrations, to get an idea of what the most likely type of weather is going to be. then we can narrow it down further and reduce the regimes and kind of group them together in percentages and create plots like this. This is a stacked weather regime probability. Going forward in time, the date is now along the bottom. And on this chart, going back to similar to what it was before, where blue is low pressure, reds and orange is high pressure. But there's different shades of blue now representing different flavors. I like to think of this as different haircuts, really, where the blue ones are short haircuts and the different shades of blue is like a bob or a French crop. And then the reds and the oranges are your high pressure or your long haircuts, your perms, your ponytails. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, you get your different flavors in there, and you can see all stacks up to 100%, and your different types within here. So low pressure is in control until at least Sunday. We've already seen now on the charts, but there are signs that high pressure is more likely to come in. Again, this is by running the computer model lots and lots of times, rather than just saying high pressure is definitely coming in, or no, the low pressure is coming in. It's more, down to 30% there for low pressure, much more likely, 60-70% that high pressure will be moving in. Another thing you can do, there's a lot of data, a lot of information going on in this live, isn't there? Is then look back at previous computer model runs and see if there are any trends or any things coming through in that. And you can see here that actually quite a strong signal yesterday that high pressure was moving in, but that signal has reduced somewhat. So it's not as certain now. So if we were doing the 10-day trend yesterday, we'd have probably said, yeah, looks good for high pressure next week, dry and fine. Today it'd be like, well, there's a good sign that high pressure will be moving in, but it's not certain at all, and you have to stay tuned to the forecast. It's what forecasters, meteorologists like to call confidence in a forecast. Are you confident? How confident are you in the forecast? And if you look back at previous computer model runs, then that can either build or reduce your confidence in a weather forecast. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to take some more questions now. I've been rambling on for about half an hour. Does the autumn weather kick in mid-September? Jane Davenport. Oh, Jane. Well, nothing gets Twitter more wound up than when the Met Office published the fact that summer has finished on the 1st of September. Meteorologically speaking, or should that be climatologically speaking, summer, for us here in the Met Office, summer is the months of June, July and August. Statistically, it's just easier to package the seasons up into individual months. So autumn is September, October, November. So we tweet out on the 1st of September that summer's over. Everyone goes crazy. Summer's not over. Summer doesn't finish till the 21st. Astronomically, of course, it happens at the equinox. But the equinox moves. The equinox isn't a fixed date. So for us, statistically, that's why we have the seasons as we do. So for us, autumn starts on the 1st of September. Autumn weather, well, that can happen at any time, like we saw last year with named storms in August. The weather patterns don't necessarily follow the calendar, but for us, statistically, to package climatologically the seasons, we use them in 3-month chunks. Hope that makes sense. What year was the coldest summer ever in the UK? Justine Green. I don't know. I will find out, Justine. Good question. My good friend Mark McCarthy, who's a statistical legend and is often on the Weather Show Live, he would know that off the top of his head. I don't know that kind of thing. But actually, this summer hasn't been that cold. I know it's chilly now, but July was significantly warmer than average because you've got to take the whole of the temperature. And we had that heat wave in July. So July was a warm month. But yeah, I agree. August hasn't been particularly warm so far. Oh, how do the noctilucent clouds form, which we have seen? They're very, very high up, noctilucent clouds, Simon, very high up in the atmosphere, above the normal lowest layer where we talk about clouds and our atmosphere and we deal with weather. They're higher up, trapped in a much higher level, very, very cold ice crystals. You can only see them at certain times of year. Probably can't see them now. You can only really see them June and July because of the sun angle, and it needs to be you need to get reflection of the sun angle, and they're so high that even at night they get a bit of the sun angle. So there's probably an explainer on our Learn About Weather channel on YouTube. If you Google that, it will explain more about noctilucent clouds. But they are beautiful and we love seeing them. Send your photos in. We love seeing all your photos. Following us on Twitter, use the hashtag #LoveUKWeather. We love seeing all kinds of weather pictures about anything. Keep your questions coming in. Keep your keep anything coming in really. Keep your love coming in if you're liking it. Let us know. Give us some feedback if you're not enjoying it. What would you like to see on these weather lives? Why did we have such a cold spring this year? I wasn't sure it was that particularly cold, but May was rather cold, and that was because of the jet stream. Ooh, should we do some drawing? Should we try and do some drawing? Oh, let's do this. Let's have a play. I haven't played with the touchscreen for ages, so let's have a bit of a play. If we come back to here, I need a blank map for this, don't I? Let's turn that off. Turn that off. Turn you off, Mr. Jetstream. Well, actually, it's kind of where the Jetstream was. This might not work, but I've got a pen. I'm going to see if I can use it. Ooh, it's working. It is working. Yeah, it's working. I don't know why I put that. She won't be watching. She doesn't watch Facebook. Right, let's do a why was May so chilly? It was to do with the position of the jet stream. Let's take that jet stream off. There we go. So in May, the jet stream was a big area of high pressure up here, and the jet stream was forced to the south. So the jet stream was like this, and not dissimilar to how it is at the weekend. That means, let's have a slightly thinner line, low pressure just kind of sat in here for most of May, and we just had this jet stream down to the south, and low pressure dominated across the UK. That's why May was so wet, whereas last year, we can clear that away. I'm going to make a funky arrowy one. Last year, the jet stream was doing that and was way up to the north, and we were on the warm side of the jet, which meant we had high pressure in here. And that's why we had such a sunny May last May. May last year was one of the sunniest months ever recorded. It was the sunniest May by a long, long time, but it was sunnier than most summer months as well. It was really remarkable, one of the sunniest months we've ever seen, and that's because of the shape of the jet stream, position of the jet stream. The jet stream generally dictates the weather that we see. Let me know if you want a message writing on the map. I love playing with this pen. This is great fun. Love the drawing. Oh, thanks, Emma. Why blue sky and hot, then massive clouds start to appear, but weather forecast says it's going to be a dry day? Anita McLaughlin, that's a good question. I'm guessing the weather forecast, by that you're looking at the app, perhaps? And the Met Office app is one of the best because you have detailed maps, you can follow the radar, so you can actually see where it's raining, and you also have presented weather forecasts on there. But in terms of an individual symbol, weather apps are not going to get summer storms bang on every time. They have a weakness there. They're not, because they're small, it's hard for the computer model to identify and pick them out, resolve them, we say. So it's hard for computer models to pick them out and spot them individually. And so it's tricky then for the app to know exactly where the thunderstorms are going to be. So often in summer months when there's heavy, slow-moving showers, apps can be a little bit misleading. The Met Office one, again, is better. I know I sound like I'm promoting it, but I do work for Met Office. But because it has a percentage of rainfall on there. So again, it's going back to that probability, and that's more realistic with summer thunderstorms, summer heavy showers, than just saying, yes, there's going to be a thunderstorm at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or no, there isn't. That's not a lot of use, because realistically, we don't know for sure. That's part of the weather forecast. Weather forecasting is all about probabilities, and that's why, that's why I said heatwave next week is unlikely, even though there's a lot of paper talk. I'm not saying it's definitely not, because there's always a possibility, but not happening this week. Guaranteed it's not happening this week, but there's always probabilities, and that's why apps are not necessarily your friend with certain weather situations. It's something we need to make a video about, actually. I think we'll probably do that. We might put something on TikTok. Make sure you're following the Met Office on TikTok, by the way, because we do all kinds of explainers on there about that kind of stuff.